Hey, this is Mike from the Graphic Novel Show. Are you interested in starting and running your own podcast? Well, you know, this is the second one that we've done. We used to do a different one, and we decided to start this one. And last time we used Anchor, and you know what? We decided to go back with Anchor again because they are the easiest way to make a podcast. They give you everything you need in one place for free. You can do it right from your phone or on your computer. Anchor gives you creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. You can do that right from your phone. That's quite amazing. They'll also distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Now, what you need to do is go download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Hi, I'm Parker, and I use they, them pronouns.
And I'm Mike, and I am he, him, and whatever else fits. And this is the Graphic Novel Podcast. Welcome to our show.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, this is a show where we read graphic novels or sometimes some short comics, zines, things like that. And then we do a review discussion. And we can talk about a lot of different things on this show.
Sometimes we talk about divorce. Sometimes we talk about abortion. A lot of times we talk about queer issues.
We have kids and relationships, all different kinds of stuff. So, yeah. So it's a cool show. And we're glad you're listening. And if you like our show, we'd appreciate if you go to
Twitter, go to Apple Podcasts, and give us a great rating. And if you leave a review, we may read it on the air.
And if you visit us at anchor.fm, Graphic Novel Podcast, you can actually leave a voice message that we can play on the air.
That's exciting. Do you remember growing up and hearing your voice, thinking how cool it would be to hear your voice on the radio? Yeah.
All right. Well, and on to today's show.
Hello, Mike.
Hey, Parker, how is it going?
It's going good. Our new studio setup is fun, and it's going to take some getting used to.
A little bit, yes, because got a little royalty check, so got you a microphone also. So now we've got some nice microphones. We can both have our laptops in front of us. There's more room.
Lots of room.
Yeah, laptops and all kinds of stuff going on. So,
I feel very laid back. And
I don't feel laid back. I feel like we've got things a little more professional now.
I feel like I can relax more because I don't have to sit on top of the microphone, you know?
Yes. I can.
That's
same
what
thing.
I mean.
I can sit back a little bit. I don't have to lean into it as much. But yeah. So let's see. Today is the beginning of our Black History Month, and there's a reason why we're starting on the last Friday of January. It's because the book that we're going to review in a little bit comes out, I believe, next week. I got to verify that, but I believe it comes out next week. So we wanted to make sure that we had that. That book as part of what we're doing.
Right.
So,
right. It comes out before our next episode. So
yeah,
I remember discussing that. That's
that was why we're going to do that. So that was going to be our first one. But we
February 5th. It comes out February 5th.
Do you have that information?
I have it from the internet.
Oh, good for you.
I know. Right. Look how quick I am. Because now I don't have to lean over and.
I know. 60 pages too. Yep, February 2020. But anyhow, things have been going good. We've got the number of listeners increasing, and we'd really love it if you liked our show. If you told other people, that would be the biggest help. Or you go and just like it, or you go on to. Your Apple Podcast is the biggest one, but other people, there's Spotify and everything. There's like 10 different. We're
wherever you listen to your podcast.
Yes, I mean we have our show going to like 14 different types of
14, that many, huh?
yeah, and
Wow.
but people listen on all different ways.
I know, it's pretty cool.
Mhm.
There's this little pie chart that shows you
Mhm.
all the different, and then where their people are listening from, like
Right.
countries, and then it breaks down to it's really cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. But yeah, so things are going good, and if you could help us out, that just helps us grow the show even more. So, on another note, I started taking a class doing this podcast.
Shout out to all your classmates.
Hello, classmates down in Seattle. We are all taking there's like 20 of us taking a comics class with 2 of the board members from Short Run in Seattle, and it's cool.
Yeah.
It is cool.
You enjoyed your first class?
I did. It's you've got to speak up in class and explain things you're doing and
Come up with things on the spot.
on the spot. Some of the people are amazing. It's like we all created these squiggles, and then we handed them to somebody else, and then we had to create monsters out of the squiggles, and then we had to give it a name. Okay, so that's fine. So it's got a name. Well, by the time it got around to me, half the people had names, but they also had backstories for all of their characters. I'm like, backstory? Holy cow. So by the time it got to me, I had adjusted the name on my character and gave them a little bit of a backstory, but I said, I don't know all of their backstory. It was a bunny. It was called Billy the Murdering Bunny. But it's just like,
That's so dark.
He was a bunny that looked like a murdering bunny. So
It had to be a monster, I guess. So
yes.
okay.
I mean, they didn't have to be a scary monster, I guess. But yeah, so it's a 6-week course that I'm taking. And the reason I'm doing it is because I've written over 60 memoir short stories. And I doubt anybody really wants to read my stories. But in comic book form, they're a little bit different. And I think that people might enjoy them.
Yeah, it is kind of weird what becomes fascinating to people when you
It is.
put it in comic book form.
It is, yeah. And one of the instructors said that they do a lot of TMI and their stuff, but they said nobody's ever come back and complained like, oh, you tell too much about yourself, because you're not talking about anybody else. So, it's your own stories. And I'm like, yeah, I said, that's kind of what I got sometimes. So it's cool. And
I'm excited to see how much growth you get from.
Well, yeah, by the time it's done, we
6 weeks is such a short time, I feel like. Maybe not. Maybe it's not.
And by the time it's done, well, it's 12 hours. That's almost 2 days.
Yeah, you're right. It is. Yeah, okay. I mean,
it's not a ton of time, but it's enough to give us, by the end, we're going to create our own mini comic. So it's pretty cool. All right. We have a bit of news this week. It's not about me. So there's an article. I'm sure it came out in multiple places, but I got it at comicspeak.com that graphic novel sales rose 16.1% in bookstores in 2019. It says while graphic novel sales were down slightly in comic shops, in bookstores they were up 16%. Basically, a lot of it was, graphic novels 16%, horror, cult, psychological segment where units increased 16.6%. Science fiction had the biggest decline among adult fiction genres, down 19.7%. But there's a bunch of other stuff. So one of the biggest one, though, juvenile and YA fiction was down, making the gains in kids' graphic novels in even more stark. But comics are not dying; they're growing and thriving. Shows a picture here of Dogman, Fetch 22 by Dave Pilkey. Dave Pilkey's from the Northwest here, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Washington. But yeah, it says that this is the big deal. This is where comic book, graphic novels are where it's at right now. This is what is bringing a lot of people into reading comics, I should say, I guess. So it's an interesting thing. You have anything to bring to the table here?
Not comic book news.
No? Okay.
No.
All right. Well, then I guess we're going to kick off our Black History Month of comic book reviews.
So, Black History Month, for those of us who don't know, started in 1976. And actually, I actually didn't know this. There's a theme every year. And since 76, apparently. And the 2020 theme is African Americans and the vote.
Oh,
in honor of the centennial anniversary of the 19th Amendment, granting women suffrage.
Nice.
Even though a lot of the suffragettes were racist.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. They were. They didn't care about
The
black women's votes.
They just wanted women to vote, but not black
Oh,
women.
yeah. They were all about getting the white white women just, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It's
not a lot different today.
And I really hate it because when you learn about, especially early on, like I remember being in, I think 6th grade probably, and reading about Susan B. Anthony. You didn't read about that kind of stuff, but you should have, because that was significant. The person that she was, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's frustrating. Anyhow, so that's, I mean, our books aren't going to be necessarily political, although this one today is.
Yeah, this one today is. We're also, I'm not sure what the one set is, but we're also doing March.
Although racism is political. I mean, really.
Well, yeah. We're doing March by John Lewis.
Right.
Book. And that's not necessarily political. It's his story.
Right.
But it's still.
I mean, if it's titled March, it's political.
You're right. You're right.
But anyway, so this week should we jump into it? Are we ready? Should we keep going? What do you want to?
No,
okay. So this week we read Sports as Hell.
Yes, and it's brand new book from Ben Passmore.
It is coming out in paperback on February 5th, and we'll do the quick. I got to pull the book up too, but after the city wins the Super Bowl for the first time, T is separated from her friend during a riot and joins a small clique fighting its way through armed groups of football fanatics to meet a star receiver that just might end the Civil War or become the city's new oppressive leader.
And it's by Ben Passmore.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, we left that out.
Yeah. He's a Philadelphia, Pennsylvania-based cartoonist and illustrator, best known for his award-winning comic Your Black Friend from Silver Sprocket, which deftly tackles issues of racism, identity, and alienation, and was adapted into a short animated film. His political cartooning appears in The Nib, and he is the cartoonist behind the post-apocalyptic series Day Glow a Hole from Silver Sprocket. He will be partnering, he already did partner with Ezra Clayton Daniels to bring Bottom Feeders from Fantagraphics, which we reviewed some months ago, which was an amazing book too.
Amazing book.
Again, now, and let's preface all this before we get into it.
Wait. I just one final tidbit. This is available February 5th, but pre-ordering will count as sales for that first week. So get your pre-orders in and buy the book now, so that you can get it. First of all, you get it right away, which is awesome.
It's only $15.
Second of all,
$15, 8.5 by 11, 60 pages, 2 color.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. It's well worth it.
Yeah.
So get your orders in now, so they'll count as sales.
So 8.5 by 11. I mean, when you look at, we were reading a PDF, but I could see the big pictures. They're probably awesome.
I'm sure
because some of the things are really hard to read, and I'm guessing on a full size page.
And you read it. You read it on your phone, right?
Yeah.
I had to get the computer up and just read it on the computer because it was just so much easier for me. But yeah.
But okay, back to what I was going to say. Disclaimer here: we are two white people, and we're going to try our best to discuss this because this book is about Black topics and racism and stereotypes and all kinds of things, and sports and media, and he really hit on a lot of different topics. And we're going to do our best to try and discuss discuss some of that with, the best we can.
Yeah, so one of the first things that when you're discussing racism, you have to remember is to listen to the Black people, listen to the oppressed people when they're telling you things. And so while we're white, we're listening to Ben and his story, and we're trying to share it with you guys as best we can. But I think it's really important that you all go out and support, first of all, a Black artist, but also listen to what his message is.
And that brings me to another topic, American Dirt. That is.
I've been really trying to stay away from the details of this book, and it's not right of me too. But
no, this is you talk about listen to the people.
Yep.
And this is exactly one of those things. This woman, I don't remember her name, Janine Cummings or something. She's a New York Times bestselling author. She was given there was a fight over who was going to publish this new book of hers. She got $1 million to publish this, to write this book. It's called American Dirt.
Yep.
And it's supposedly, she did her best to try and write a book about the Mexican immigrant, struggling to get to America, and
it's so that why your voice has no place there.
Up until 4 years ago or less, she called herself a white person, but now she's claiming that, and it's probably true, but she has a Puerto Rican grandmother, so now she's trying to pull that a little bit. So she's like, well, I've got some background here, but she's always said she was white. And even when she was doing interviews for this, she's saying,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's saying that she's. So what happened, if you haven't heard it, real quick, several people came out because Oprah picked it as book of club book. And several people, Latinx people, I'm believing they were Mexican people, came out and said, this book is not something that a white person should be writing, and it wasn't a good story that a white person. It went through all the stereotypes,
there
the
are
gun,
plenty of
the drug cartels and the drug lords and the people struggling. But somebody from the LA Times did a review, and they said, I wanted to see myself in this book, and I didn't see myself. They didn't make this she didn't make this a true story. The story was a middle class family in Mexico that owned a business, and they leave the mother and child or whatever are running for whatever reason. I don't know if the cartel got involved, however it happened, and they're running to America, but they got a pocket full of money. It's not the real story.
That's not the typical.
No. And so there's a big thing now. Oprah's playing the Trump card, and she's saying, well, there's good people on both sides, and I'm going to have both sides get together and discuss this now, instead of saying, oh yeah, this is, Oprah has gotten to the point where she forgot, I think, her roots, because she's a billion dollar.
I don't think that we can speak for Oprah and what her.
We've spoke for other people before. We spoke to their thoughts.
I don't think that we can say that Oprah.
We don't know that for sure.
I don't know that she necessarily even chose the book. You know what I mean?
But she's doubling down on it.
I mean, I really no, I know. But I wish that she would. Her book club books make huge. Like, I wish she would pick independent authors. Like, it would be so easy for her to pick somebody who's an independent author and who could use that boost, and she doesn't.
Yeah. Instead, they go after.
I wonder, like, how much I wonder if she gets paid to pick certain books.
I don't know, but they come to her with a book that for somebody that was already given $1 million up front. Exactly.
All of her books are well known.
Yes, pick a book by some unknown person that hasn't plagiarized their book, because she's had those before too.
Yeah. See, so I think I'm thinking that there's more to it. She's not like saying, "Oh, this is a personal favorite of mine,"
but she claims she read it too. But
I'm sure she may have read it. That doesn't mean
we looked at the back of it too, and the back is full of reviews and praise from Stephen King and I think John Grisham and all these other people. It's like, yeah. Of course, they're all white, but
well, Oprah's not white.
No, but
you just on the back of the book, you mean?
Yes. So anyhow, point of this is listen to the people who.
Yeah, we kind of went way out there.
But listen to the people.
Listen to the people.
Yeah.
I mean, she had the opportunity to write a really good book, I think, but I'm sure there's plenty of books already out there. Don't you think? Written by Latinx people about the experience.
There could be. If somebody was given $1 million, I'm sure they could write a book.
Well, I mean,
seriously.
I mean, I'm sure there's journals.
She wrote this book after getting her money.
Oh no, of course, yes.
So, yes.
Which she had the money to. She had plenty of money to actually, put herself,
I
in
don't think
in
she
the.
did, though.
She could do the research. She could
from what-
speak to people. She could.
From what I understand, she did 9 days of research going through Mexico and Tijuana, and yeah, I don't think so. Anyhow, let's get back to this book.
I wonder what that was like
I
for
don't
her.
know.
I don't care.
Nope. Sports as Hell by Ben Passmore.
Okay.
So
back into
what you got is you've got the white birds versus the white birds versus the is it?
Oh my god, I don't remember these details. I remember
no,
the birds.
It's the birds because it's W versus B, whites versus black.
Uh-huh.
And you've got the birds versus the what the heck? How come I forgot this?
I don't know the details. Like we just finished it too.
All right. Anyhow, so what you got is there's a football game. Basically, it's a Super Bowl beginning, and you've got Ben's great art. He's got this.
He is such an amazing.
He's got this distorted kind of artwork, but it's amazing. I love his artwork. And you've got what happens is at the beginning it's like the Super Bowl and it ends, and you've got little things like kids playing on the street, and then they're pretending to shoot at a cop car, and like the grandfather comes by and says, unless you're pointing a real gun at those and you plan on shooting, don't play with the cops.
Mm-hmm.
Like that,
Right.
So then this Super Bowl ends, and there's like a power outage, and so the people think that the white team won.
We should talk about Colin Kaepernick too.
Well, the main character's last name is Collins.
But he's not even a character in the book. He's just kind of this, like they show him like the one time. His last name's Collins, right? And so
he does do
Colin
the
Kaepernick.
kneeling.
I assume most people know, but we'll say in 2016 he took a knee for to protest police brutality, and so that's the theme running through the book too. Is the police brutality and this quarterback, wide receiver.
He's a wide receiver.
Who is like the they're all looking up to him, and is he going to take a knee, and then so go ahead, sorry.
Well, no, so the game ends and the whites think they won, but apparently at the very end there was a face mask penalty, so they think they won, and the blacks are like, no, you didn't win. So this rioting starts in the streets. And in between, there's breaks for the media, like the press. They're doing their commentary.
I love that. That was so...
Well, they do like the pregame, like, is he going to take a knee? Is he going to make another political statement? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then during the game, they make comments, and then during the subsequent rioting and stuff, because what happens is there's a bunch of different characters introduced in different ways, and as this rioting is going on, they break off into factions. Like there's all these different groups that break off. You find this Nazi group of Nazis running around with guns, and they're shooting people, they're killing black people. And they're complaining because their minor league football team used to be good until they started getting only the mongrels from the inner city. They were only getting the black people. So they were getting like the worst players that they were claiming. Before that, it was the white team, and they were so good. And it was this kind of stuff. And you've got these other characters that are going through, and you've got the peacenik whites with their Black Lives Matters, and we love black people.
Do you need some money?
Yeah, exactly.
We're so scared. We're so nervous getting on the bus.
Yeah, exactly. And then later on, they get theirs. But but yeah, it's well, because later on they're complaining because, well, you people, it's one of those you people, if you didn't have a plan, you're doing, this rioting and everything.
Right.
So, got all of this information here. So it's the big whites versus the birds. So you've got the W's, the whites versus the B's, which are, I'm sure, blacks. I'm sure that's what it is. So what happens is later in the story, you've got all this stuff. You got all these people being killed. You've got the cops charging through and just shooting people blindly.
Yep.
Stereotypical, just shooting black people because they're out in the streets. It's stereotypical, but it's honest.
You know what
stuff
I
that
love is the
happens.
action. He has these actions, and you can feel what's all he has to put in is there, boom, and you get it. Like, like above
Right.
the stadium, he has
Yeah,
boom, and
yeah,
it's like,
giant booms.
and
Yeah,
you get
exactly.
it. It's
Yeah.
you don't have to go into any more detail than that. You know exactly what he's saying. You can feel it. It's so wonderful. I love it.
Mhm. So later in the story, after all this violence is going on, the big whites know they lost. So what they do is they corral all of these black people, and they force them to put on uniforms, football uniforms, to force them to replay the Super Bowl because they want to win this time. And they've got guns on them and forcing them to play.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to play this game so we
Or
can
we'll
beat
kill
you.
you. Oh, and there's Nazis in there too.
Oh yeah, I mentioned that
Oh,
already.
you did already.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the Nazis are part of the one group that are just violent
And these huge guns. It's so
Yeah.
ridiculous.
But that's part of it.
No, I know.
The white people have to
And
carry
that's
out their
happening
big guns.
today. Today, is there rallying going on?
There
Or
probably
was that
is.
yesterday?
There probably is
Because there was something
there's-
going on in Virginia, right?
Yes, that was a week ago.
And Washington
But
Washington is trying to pass
anti-assault rifle.
right.
Yeah, I know somebody was complaining recently.
There's other things going on in Washington too, but anyway.
But
we'll
yeah,
talk about
no,
it later.
there's all kinds of, and that's the thing. These people that have to have their guns, they got to carry their guns. They need a concealed carry permit to carry their guns. People complaining about carrying their guns to stadiums and stuff. Oh, I'm afraid to go to see it. Well, then don't go.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God.
Okay, I got to carry
It's
my gun. I got to
it's
have my
so-
gun on me so I can shoot somebody.
We see people in the grocery store with guns on them, and I'm like, okay, let's go to the other side of the store because I do not want to be anywhere near this person.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why are you in a grocery store if you feel so unsafe that you have to have your gun on you at all times?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, it's so frustrating.
It is. But imagine being black. Imagine being black.
I
And,
know. I can't.
Well, going back to that Virginia thing, all of these white fuckers carrying their assault
Mhm.
weapons down the street, half of them
Mhm.
with their masks on, which is against the law. They're not supposed to have their faces covered if they're carrying guns. But
they get away with it.
the police didn't stop them.
Yeah.
In fact, the police made sure that that everything was good for them, keep the protesters away.
Yeah.
Imagine a couple hundred, not even thousands, of black men carrying guns going down a street.
Yeah.
It would
wouldn't
not happen.
It wouldn't.
They would
happen.
have the National Guard there to stop them, and when they didn't stop, they'd start shooting them. I mean, it's horrific to think that would happen, but it would.
Yeah. You're right.
We've talked about this before. I don't think we've ever talked about it on the show, but watch that one video
Uh-huh.
where they show the white guy with an automatic rifle
Yep.
in the middle of a street, and a cop pulls up and he just says, "Hey, buddy, what are you doing? Why are you carrying your gun?" "Oh, just well, would you like to put that away?"
Yeah.
Then they do the same thing with
Same
the black,
neighborhood.
Yep, with the black guy. 10 cop cars show up. They make the black guy lay on the street. The whole thing. It's the same thing.
Absolutely.
It's disgusting.
It is.
It's horrible that black people have to go through this. And I don't understand what the fear is.
Yeah. I don't get it either, and I don't think that. I mean, we just have to work to be better people and
Yeah. So in the middle of this Super Bowl reenactment,
educate others.
Yep. In the middle of this, it says, "We won. Y'all can't lie like this." So then they start forcing them to play, and so of course the black the Birds immediately go and score, and wasn't it? Oh no, it wasn't. It was the big whites went and scored. No, I'm sorry. It was the because then the referee didn't like that they scored, and he shot and killed the guy.
Right.
And then that started it. So they're in the stadium and they're having like a barbecue and a community barbecue and picnic and all this stuff.
Oh yes, the community barbecue, the Proud Street community barbecue.
Exactly. I like that, the Proud Street, like the Proud Boys.
We got ribs, both meaty and vegan-y.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the Birds start taking over, and they take over, and it's the story is
Well, and one of the main characters is caught there and caught thugging. So now they're essentially, imprisoned and forced into this reenactment that isn't really a reenactment because it didn't actually happen that way.
No.
And so then it's the group of them and they overtake, right? And oh god, the community barbecue. We got to go back to that.
Well, you can't tell everything. There's some cooking going on though.
Sorry. I just you're in a safe place. These white liberal people, you're in a safe place. Meanwhile, right next to you in the game that you're watching, these people are being forced to reenact something that didn't actually happen. Oh, you have all these medals. Oh, yes, I got this one for protecting my blue apron box from some thugs.
Oh my god. The participation medals.
Oh, yes. What brave people they are.
Yeah.
And it's hard because, I mean, that's what it's come down to. You feel like you've put in the work because you protected your blue apron box.
And who are the thugs? Black people?
Of course. Right. Like, oh, it's so frustrating. They were really hungry and, I didn't let them take my food.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's
but I'm a good person. I'm so brave.
Mm-hmm. Most of the white people get their dues in this book, though.
I do like that.
Yeah, and from Ben's standpoint, I mean, I can understand why. I mean,
absolutely.
It's a tough world. I mean, how many times we've seen. I mean, Congress people and state senators and politicians, just because they're black, getting pulled over because the police don't know who they are by face, seeing them, and they get pulled over. The one guy, I remember, said he had been pulled over, I don't know, a half dozen times, and he was a politician.
Yeah.
Well,
there was a Seattle Seahawks player who was down in Vegas, and
I don't know whatever happened with that. It was a little funky.
You don't?
The whole thing was a little weird.
Well, but he had nothing. He was just like at a hotel, and they tackled him.
I don't know what happened. It was a weird thing. They were looking into it and stuff. I don't know if it was an exaggerated thing or if it really happened or what. So I don't really want to go into that one.
Oh, okay. I don't remember the details, so I probably shouldn't.
It's a good idea.
Whatever. I don't think anybody deserves to be tackled and manhandled. That's an awful word, but the way that they treat black people in general is that they shoot first, ask questions later.
They do.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
But, if you're white, then it's no different than, God, what was that killer's name? He killed all those people. I don't want to say his name, even if it is, and then they take him to Burger King for lunch after they arrest him.
Down in Georgia or wherever it was. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's just like, it's such a key. It's such a.
Exactly. A black person, they would have tackled to the ground, if not killed.
You'd be dead.
Yeah.
What,
you're hungry after all the killing? Yeah. Let's go to Burger King.
Let's go grab you a burger.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how many times? I mean, I'm sure it was some whites too, but how many times does that Innocent Project find blacks have been innocently?
I don't even want to get into the problem with the prison.
All of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to get into it, huh? You don't want to talk about it.
Not on this show. Let's stick to the huge amount of issues that are in the book. He doesn't get into the prison issue. In the
middle of all these riots.
I guess he technically does. They imprison the people and enslave them.
Well, there you go. Exactly. Oh, I didn't even think of it that way. Basically, they're enslaved.
Yeah, well, they put the masks on the. Yeah.
And so they all look the same then, too.
Uh-huh.
That way they don't have to look at them and see them as...
Because they're not people. They're just ducks.
Exactly.
I mean, birds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they've got... in the middle of it, we had talked about the media. So the commentators are talking about the different factions that are out on the streets shooting each other. Oh, and the whatever the one Nazi group is. Oh, they've done like 7 kills so far. But we can't declare them the winner yet.
Yes, and that's what's like. To me, it's like it really is. It really does seem that way. The media is just so. Oh, well, this is what it is. Oh yeah, let's make a big, let's celebrate it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's not winning. Killing people isn't winning.
No. And I don't know if we've hit on all the points that
I'm sure we've missed some. I don't think
Ben
we can
was
do.
trying to get across here.
I'm sure not.
And if not, Ben, we apologize. You're welcome to send us a message and and we'll gladly
Listen and correct.
and correct. But
also, we're not asking you to do the work.
no, we're not asking you. We're just saying if you were trying to do something that we missed on. Because I was considering sending you some questions, but I wasn't quite sure what to ask. I wasn't sure what we should ask you. But it's such a good story,
I like the way
though.
that he ends it saying, "I think that's it.
I think that's it.
I think that's it," but it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, that think is huge. It's not it. I wish that it was. I mean, I guess I don't wish. I wish that there was an easy, simple fix.
Well, on the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, just what was it, a month or so ago? He had last year. I mean, Nike gave him a deal, and
he has stayed
and the white people freaked out.
I know.
And Nike's stock shot up, and they sold a ton of merchandise because there's a lot of people who. I mean, it's easy if you're a white person to alleviate your guilt by buying stuff like that and helping. But you're not necessarily helping him. I mean,
you're not helping him at all, and you're not helping the black people who are being shot by the police. I mean, you're just saying, hey, way to go, you white capitalist Nike people, for supporting Colin I mean, it's nice to say, okay, I don't feel bad about buying Nike now. Like,
right.
It's always nice to have a brand that you can say, okay, at least there, but they did it to sell, and they didn't have any. If they really believed in the cause, then the proceeds for all of that would have gone to a charity
or a percentage, at least something,
right? to help black youth, or anything in that.
And as long as we're on it,
Black Lives Matter. It should have all gone to them.
This weekend is the Super Bowl, and
are we allowed to say that word? The big game, aren't we supposed to?
Yeah,
oops.
They can come and say something to us. Take our podcast down that we're not making any money off of. So the big game. Well, he says that in the book.
I saw that. I know. I was surprised.
The second time I read it, I'm looking through. I'm like, oh, he actually says it. But anyhow, so the Super Bowl.
What sucks
the big
is they probably
the big super
after
game is going to be this Sunday, and. The NFL partnered with Jay-Z's. I said it was Jay-Z, wasn't it? Jay-Z's media company, and they produced a video, new PSA.
That's right. You were
and the PSA,
this.
I forgot what it was about, but basically, people were freaking out. They're like, "Really? You're trying to make it look like everybody should be nice to black people or whatever." When in fact, Colin Kaepernick was doing these things before, and you basically kicked him out of the NFL and pretty much blacklisted him. I mean, I was starting to say about a month and a half ago, he had tryouts with several teams, and at the last minute, he changed something because I think he didn't like what was going to happen, and it just all fell through. He's been
really?
He's been keeping in shape and trying to
exactly for years.
There were
I can't even.
There were teams that lost 2 and 3 quarterbacks, could have easily used him.
Yeah.
But it's he believed in it, and he still believes in it. I mean, I wonder. He'll never say it, but you wonder if he says, I wonder if I should have just shut my mouth.
No, I don't think. That
you don't think so?
I can't imagine. I mean, he hasn't played the game, and we're still talking about him, and so I think that as long as his mission, as long as his work is still happening, then I'm sure he would want to be playing the game.
Yes.
But I don't think that he would say that he wished he had I don't know, maybe he would say he wished he had done things differently. I don't know. But because he's not doing the thing that he loves.
Yeah.
But he is still working, and his name is he's going to go down in history as making that change.
Yes. Yes. And hopefully He
You hate me right now.
just slightly. Hopefully, it makes a difference down the road. People are talking about him, and there's always going to be a subset of racists that will never care, but it's not the way we bring our kids up. And hopefully, it's made a lot of people think twice about things.
Yeah.
Plus the Black Lives Matters movement. So, Ben Passmore, Sports is Hell comes out next week.
February 5th. Get your pre-orders in now.
And it's a great book.
There's a lot to it. I'm going to keep reading it over and over because I want to catch all of it.
Yeah.
I want to see all of it. I want to feel all of it. And you can't read it just once and get the whole.
No, I've read it
all the
twice,
ideas.
and there's just so much to it.
There is a lot. It's very dense. Yeah.
I had to go back and compare characters.
Well, I mean, we couldn't even remember the names of the teams.
Yeah, the big whites. It should have been obvious. The big whites.
I know. I don't know.
Anyhow, great book, Ben. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your hard work. And again, we talk about the labor that goes into it. It's a lot of labor besides just, putting pen to paper and, the creative side of it. That takes a lot of emotional labor to draw all those things, people being shot and Nazi stuff. And yeah, he does great work.
He does. And we appreciate it. And hopefully you read the book and appreciate it too.
Absolutely.
All right. I think that's it.
I think we're done.
I think that's all we have for this week. Until next week, my name is Mike.
And I'm Parker.
And this is
the Graphic Novel Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Graphic Novel Podcast.
Make sure you find us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter at Graphic Novel Pod.
The other places, I think it's Graphic Novel Podcast, but it's Graphic Novel Pod on Twitter.
I was surprised I remember that much.
I know, because you know what? I would not have remembered that. It was good. And if you like the show, please go to your favorite store that you listen to podcasts and at least give us a 5-star. Or if you have the time, leave a review. You can send us an email at graphicnovelpodcast@gmail.com. Tell
your friends about us.
Definitely tell your friends about us. Check us out. Visit us on social media, on Twitter. That's where I am the most. It's on Twitter. I try to avoid Facebook at all costs. And you can also, if you go to anchor.fm /graphic novel podcast, you can go to our site and you can leave us a voice message. And if you leave us a nice message, maybe we'll play it on the air.